Hey guys, it's Captain Forest here, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over both these combatants to see who would win, more often than not in a crossverse situation. Redhulk from Marvel 616 versus Atrocitus from DC Comics. Now if you guys are new to my channel, please leave a like, comment down below, and of course subscribe for further content. Also, shoutouts to the Cough Shop gang, they all make awesome content, their links will be in the description. Also shoutouts to HQ Squad. They also help me in my videos, so much appreciated to them. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about some of Redhulk's feats. So Redhulk was able to casually beat up and overpower She-Hulk. We also see Redhulk being able to physically hurt and suppress Thor and send him flying. We see Redhulk do battle with Sentry, and he was able to absorb and take an attack from Sentry and then literally punch him into next week. Very impressive. Another impressive feat for Redhulk was when he was able to absorb the power cosmic from Silver Surfer and break his neck. Redhulk is scrapped with Savage Hulk, enduring hits from Savage Hulk, and he was even able to overpower Savage Hulk and break his arm. So that's going to round up his feats. There are a lot more impressive feats that Redhulk has demonstrated, but they pretty much scale relatively to the calibers of the other characters that I've mentioned. So more often than not, based off consistency and the feats that Redhulk has performed, he pretty much scales to the Herald tier levels of AP. I'll go into more detail in my analysis, but yeah, that's going to round up his feats in terms of AP. Now for speed, he would easily scale to the likes of Savage Hulk and She-Hulk's speed. She-Hulk in fact got blitzed by Redhulk, and she even notes that he is faster, and as seen from Hulk and Redhulk's fight, both are fast enough to react to each other, and Redhulk is able to even tag Thor. I've gone over the speed scaling many times in my previous videos for those characters in detail, so if you'd like to check those videos out, those links will be in the description. But long story short, easily Redhulk should range around the low ends of MFTL plus, infinite speed to immeasurable speed pretty comfortably. So just like the big green behemoth himself, Redhulk shares a lot of Hulk's unique powers and physiology. He can perform a thunderclap. He's shown to be quite skillful, such as utilizing headlocks, arm locks, chokeholds, ear clapping, and takedowns. He will target and break the opponent's limbs. He also uses his opponent's own weapons against them. Just like Savage Hulk, Redhulk has a healing factor and can heal from injuries, such as regenerating his eyes back after they were slashed by Wolverine's claws. As we all know, when the Hulk gets mad, it increases his power. Redhulk's a little bit different, however. The more mad Redhulk becomes, the hotter he gets, as his body begins to permeate with heat, and it burns and affects anything nearby around his perimeter. Moving on to his hexes. Now, Redhulk has some impressive energy absorbing powers, such as the time when he absorbed the power cosmic from Silver Surfer and gained his powers. The power cosmic has shown to physically affect people on a spiritual level, and Redhulk is able to absorb this type of energy, which is very impressive. Another useful feat as well with the energy absorption, when he takes their energy, he also gains the added benefits, such as when he took Silver Surfer's energy, he basically was able to control and pilot his surfboard. Very impressive. When Redhulk absorbs energy, it also increases his power as well. He's able to drain the gamma radiation from Hulk's body to the point where Hulk literally passes out. He can absorb energy attacks from opponents. Redhulk was able to absorb Claw, who is made out of pure sound, and we also see that Redhulk was able to absorb a energy blast from Sentry as well. So that's going to round up Redhulk. Let's move on to Atrocitus to see what his rage brings to the table. Now Atrocitus was able to tear into hyperspace, and it was heavily applied to be a threat to hyperspace as a whole, as the ship specifically designed to be able to take hyperspace was scared of Atrocitus. Hyperspace is a place where there is no form or mass, and where time cannot function. Even though he doesn't fully scale to Krona, Atrocitus was able to harm Krona when he had the power of the emotional spectrum, as he was shown using Ion, the rage entity, the greed entity, and having the hope entity, parallax, and compassion entity bound to him, which is very impressive. Another good feat for Atrocitus is when he was able to use his constructs to restrain the Butcher, who is the rage entity of the emotional spectrum. The Butcher in the same issue has shown to contend with the Spectre, and after the Butcher had possessed a host, he was able to do major damage to the Spectre. We then see Atrocitus harm the Butcher so much that the Butcher tries to flee from Atrocitus, but is then contained inside his lantern battery. In fact, on another occasion, Atrocitus has shown to be strong enough to absorb the Butcher, the avatar of the Red Lantern, which gives Atrocitus his power back and also takes on the new form too. He's more powerful after merging with the Butcher, and the Butcher is the embodiment of the Red Lantern's energy. Atrocitus's Napalm Blast was able to hurt Guy, and it affects his Green Lantern ring as the blast cuts Guy's power reserves down by half. Another impressive feat for Atrocitus was when he broke out of Sinestro and Hal Jordan's constructs. He was also able to physically harm them too. Now that's going to round up his feats in terms of AP. I'm going to go ahead and just talk about speed real quick. As mentioned before in previous videos, Atrocitus should scale to other lanterns like Hal Jordan in speed, and I have covered those speed feats in a number of my videos. So Atrocitus should easily range from immeasurable to irrelevant speeds. Now I'm going to go ahead and talk a little bit about the Red Lantern ring and what it's capable of. So as we all know, with becoming the Red Lantern, taking the ring off will most certainly kill the user. The user's anger and rage charges up the ring and also increases their attack power. Like the other rings, the Red Lantern ring has information analysis, which informs the user of any abnormalities and also warns the user of specific dangers, such as detecting cellular toxicity from kryptonite, which was dampening Supergirl's cells. The ring can translate different languages, detect different types of energies from far away, and can also open up a portal. The ring can also detect other lanterns and also analyze if their opponent is hostile. The Red Lantern ring allows the user to fly and create force fields and survive in space. The Red Lantern's blood is replaced with napalm-like plasma substance, which they can project and use as a weapon. Dexter himself has demonstrated to project this substance, which instantly vaporizes the opponent, and also Atrocitus has also used napalm vomit as well himself. Red Lanterns are able to obtain inherent abilities from others via licking their blood. This was demonstrated when Dexter licked Rancor's blood, which gave him the ability to create constructs, as this power was Rancor's inherent power originally with the constructs. The napalm in the Red Lantern's blood heals their injuries. Fortunately for Atrocitus, he is one of the few Red Lanterns to make constructs and has also used them to restrain the rage entity as well. Atrocitus has control over blood magic, as showcased with him, as he was able to completely manipulate a blood tornado, which is very impressive. A unique quirk with the Red Lantern ring for Atrocitus is that he is able to feed on his opponent's rage and thus becoming more powerful. And lastly, just like any other Red Lantern, Atrocitus is ruthless and barbaric when it comes to battle. He will rage on and he will go into battle with savage tactics, such as ripping his opponent apart and destroying them completely. So that's going to round up both these combatants. I'm going to go ahead and talk about who I think wins more often than not in a crossverse situation, and I'll talk about their stats. Okay, so going over both these combatants to see who would win more often than not. In terms of AP, they're both pretty relative, honestly. They both have some really impressive AP showings, really impressive feats, really impressive chain scaling, especially with Redhulk being able to physically hurt Savage Hulk. We all know the scaling for him, being able to physically hurt Thor. They all have altiversal feats of their own, which is very impressive, especially with Hulk hurting Sentry. That's also an impressive feat for him as well, Red Hulk. Now Atrocitus, he's also has some impressive feats, especially with with this fight with Krona, when he had all the emotional spectrums. Some really good arguments for Atrocitus. You could easily get him to at least like outer versal, maybe even higher, maybe even high outer potentially. So from what I've seen for both combatants, I think they're pretty relative in AP. I don't really see there's like a huge massive edge in AP. So I definitely think they both have what it takes to physically take each other out. Speed, however, is a different ballpark. I do lean a little bit more so with Atrocitus. He should be a lot more nimble, a lot more faster than Redhulk. I just think the irrelevant speed feats and the measurable speed feats, just higher quantifications into it, it's just far more impressive than what Redhulk is showing. So I definitely think that there's going to be a bit of a speed issue in this fight. Now, in terms of win cons, the win cons are pretty interesting. They both have ways to increase their own AP. Now, Redhulk has his energy absorption. Atrocitus has his own energy absorption in a way of absorbing and converting people's rage into energy. So it basically increases his own power. Now, I think that Atrocitus has the advantage in that degree, since Redhulk, he tends to get angry. Of course, the more angry it becomes, the more hotter he becomes. And I see Atrocitus just eating that all up for breakfast. I think the anger aspect for Redhulk is very counterintuitive against Atrocitus. So I think Atrocitus has that, pretty much that field advantage when it comes to those hexes. So even if we see Redhulk trying to drain Atrocitus, Atrocitus will drain him back. However, Atrocitus is faster. Atrocitus has constructs. He has ways to deal with Redhulk. And of course, he could potentially even incapacitate Redhulk if he ends up getting higher into the tiers. Like higher into the tier, I should say, with the energy absorption, especially from the anger he would absorb thanks to his Redlantern powers. Another thing I'd like to mention that could be argued on the table is that Atrocitus ends up licking or getting some of the blood on him from Redhulk, and he'd just end up copying and taking Redhulk's powers pretty much. So he'd get a massive increase in AP. That's another thing, another potential argument, another potential scenario that could be argued and put down on the table. Now, another thing, another setback, I think that could be an issue if the fight takes too long for Redhulk. Redhulk does have a drawback with his overheating powers, is that if he gets too hot and remains too hot for too long, he will become overheated, which will cause him to become a lot more fatigued, a lot more sluggish. He doesn't fight very focused. He will become very clumsy and very sluggish and very slow and very groggy. This will affect his combat efficiency, and I just see that going to be a huge advantage for Atrocitus. Atrocitus is literally just going to read him like a book and then just rip his head off. So, in my opinion, and from what I've seen, objectively speaking, from what they bring to the table in terms of hexes and all that good jazz, with some amount of difficulty, I do have to lean more so with Atrocitus. The rage amp, and of course, the speed advantage. I think Redhulk's going to have a tough time targeting him with some hits, which would actually work in Atrocitus' favor, because Redhulk would just get mad because he can't hit him. Atrocitus is just going to eat all that anger up, get powerful. Redhulk's going to pretty much overheat himself with his powers if he can't do anything, and that could be a huge issue, and Atrocitus is just going to take his head off and just do what he needs to do. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and of course, subscribe for further content. It's been real. See you guys in the next one.